Welcome back. Oh, you're so cute. Okay, but welcome back, y'all. Start. So, yeah, we've discussed like video games. We've talked about, a little bit of a bunch of different, wibbly womp, a smorgasbord of different topics. So, I guess for, I guess interests and stuff like that. Let's see. So outside of VO, what is something else that has also been kind of like, it's something that you've recently just picked up because I know that VO is kind of like something that's been, your full time, profession. But what is something else that you've also been kind of dabbling into, like any hobby or anything that seems to come to
Hmm.
mind?
Wow, good question. So does it have to be new or can it just be other things that I kind of enjoy?
If anything.
Well, I love rock climbing. So rock climbing is something that I really like. Obviously just hiking and outdoors in general. And aside from that, I would say I like escape rooms.
Oh,
Oh my gosh, I
those
have
are.
to tell you a story. This
Go
is
ahead. Go ahead.
crazy.
Go.
Okay. So I have not seen the show Squid Games, but I have friends that have watched it, and they have an experience that you can do here in LA that goes through the whole Squid Games kind of like game. And so I did that the other night, not knowing what I was getting into. It was supposed to be a surprise. And I did it against 20 other people. And what they don't tell you is that if you make it to the very end and you win, you have an opportunity to potentially be on the show. And I made it till the very end.
Wow.
And so they have like a whole they have like this whole what's it called? It's like a whole reality show where people are doing it. It looks so intense that I'll be honest, I'm not sure that I would potentially do it or not, but we'll see. But that was intense. So I like games, obviously. So I like when it comes to like some competition and all that stuff, like I'm cool with. I just realized that maybe I have a boundary. I don't know. We're gonna see. So, but definitely I would definitely say games, board games, all of that I get into. And I'm just really big into the self-development stuff. So like I love meditation, I love breath work. I mean, I don't think anyone can say they don't love travel, but like I truly do, like to another level. And I think that's just because probably my studies of anthropology and all of that stuff too. I just enjoy people and culture and understanding all that stuff. So yeah, so I'm always doing that. Even when I go on conventions, I usually will extend it wherever I am to go see something in somebody's region, and like explore that. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. You just got me to thinking about like going to Squid Game for a little bit. I have actually watched it. No spoilers. Yeah, it is. It was definitely an experience. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Wait, did you watch the reality show one?
I also watched the reality show one.
That is, I didn't realize what that was. I said, yeah, sure, maybe I'll audition for the show, And then I watched the reality show and I was like, holy crap. I watched a couple episodes and I was like, can I handle that amount of stress? Like, that sounds like a lot. It's not even about the competitive side. The competitive side sounds fun, like I'm like, oh, I could play a game, like I could figure out how to do it, but it's like all the like mind stuff that I'm like, that seems like a lot for my psyche. I don't know. We're gonna see. So yeah. Do you think you could do it? Do you think you would be up for something like that?
Bring it. Bring it
Wow.
on.
Even after watching the reality show, you're like, screw it, I can do it. It's fine. I'll make it happen.
You know what? If I wanted to torture myself, sure. You know what? What's there to lose?
I love that. If I want to torture myself, why not? Let's just go for it.
Dude, I mean, that's pretty much what you have to, as an artist, it's kind of like you got to challenge yourself. It's part of like, discipline or anything that they say, like, because sometimes for me, like, if I'm not feeling like, okay, this stuff is just, I'm kind of in my comfort zone. What if I do something that's like outside? Like, what if I do something that's like a little out of my comfort? You know what I mean? Because sometimes we kind of feel like we're kind of set ourselves in this little bubble, and I feel like if you're not actively seeking, now I'm not, when I mention
Listen,
that, I should
listen.
clarify on one thing
Robert,
though.
I like my bubbles, okay? I like being in my bubbles. I'm kidding.
Okay, there's that
I'm
I kind
joking,
of
I'm
walked
joking.
myself into that one, but yeah, I was gonna say I do want to clarify one thing, because I feel like it needs to be said. Like, you should take risks, but there's also like a limit. I don't want to say there's a limit, but there's more like you definitely push yourself, but not to the point where it's like you end up in like, I don't know, a hospital or something, or
Yeah.
like getting yourself hurt or put yourself in danger. You know,
Yeah,
there's a
it's
reason why. Yeah,
100% it's those healthy boundaries, right? It's like,
yeah,
where's my healthy boundary where I know that I'm pushing myself because it's something that I really want to do, but maybe fear was holding me back, versus I'm
yeah.
pushing myself and this isn't anything like me and it doesn't resonate with my core values or anything, and I'm just gonna do it. That's different.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like the anime, watching of like, I don't know, My Hero Academia or Dragon Ball Z, where it's, you know, is, and this is to go even further beyond that type of feeling. So,
Yeah.
yeah, let's just say that I may or may not have the, dude, those still live rent free in my mind. I'm telling you this right now. Um, yeah, that's probably what happens when we watch a little too much anime.
It's just dreams in your brain all the time.
Exactly. Like on loop, on repeat all the time, because that's how my brain works. Um,
I love that.
but yeah, outside of that, like for me, I know I mentioned like I like to play video games or just watch. So I'm just kind of like, but I am like you mentioned, like you like to explore, you want to see a new region or what's out there, and that's something that I would want to start doing. Just traveling more and see France or Japan. Yeah, I'm that person who's like, you know what? I don't want to see anything to like the USA, but I kind of want to see like other cultures and lands because
Yeah.
I'm a person that's kind of like I've studied a lot about like World War or um the UK cultures and African the lifestyles and everything. So that's something that has been a huge that's been a lifelong interest and passion of mine. So traveling around the world is something I am so 100% on board of doing. Um, right now, of course, we know it's too expensive, but hey, nothing like saving up. I mean, if something is too difficult or hard, we got to find a
You
way
can
to make it
find
work.
deals though.
Yeah, yeah, good deals too. Yeah,
Exactly. Like you said, you find that you prioritize it. If it's a true priority in your life, if you're seriously like, I want to travel, this is it, right?
yeah.
I make a point of that. Like I try to pay attention to when there's deals. Like sometimes they'll be like,
That's good.
sometimes there's also like credit cards, like there's credit cards with airlines, and those airlines, as you're spending money and you're paying off your stuff, then you're also getting points that you can put towards trips. And sometimes those trips go on discounted rates. And then you can like travel outside of the world on a discounted rate of points, even, and then that paid for your flight to wherever you're going. You can also do things in a more backpacker lifestyle, and you can stay in more affordable areas, or maybe you share rooms with somebody else who's also in the traveling experience. There's so many ways to do it. So that's why I find it interesting, because it's like, if you really really want to do it, like you said, you'll find a way because it's your priority. It's something you absolutely want to do. So and I think it's also getting the taste of that bug a little bit, right? Because sometimes people are like, I really want to travel, I want to see the world, and then they never see the world, right? And they're like, oh, that would be so great, but there's more important things I need to do, right? And I get it, but if it's like truly innately in you, you'll always make it happen. Like I actually had my yaya, my grandma, who's 85 years old now, and I flew her out. She lives in Spain now. And I flew her out. She was going to Florida to stay with my family. And then I flew her out from Florida to meet me in Vegas because she had always wanted to do Vegas in her lifetime. She never thought she would ever do it. So it's just a thing she would just say. And I flew her out of Vegas, and we actually did Vegas. And then after Vegas, we went back into LA, and I showed her around LA and Santa Barbara and all this stuff. And I kid you not, this is coming from an 85-year-old woman who thought like, oh, travel's so great, but that's, it's not everything, and I'm okay if I don't do it. She got the bug now. She was like, this was the first time in my life that I traveled for me, that I did this for me. It wasn't because I had to do it for work or for family or whatever it was, even though she was with me and I'm her granddaughter. But she was like, she felt this like feeling of aliveness that came because it gets you, like you said, out of your bubble, out of your normal comfort zone, out of your day-to-day routine, which your day-to-day routine is good. It keeps you in your normal state so that your nervous system is good, but you need to get out of that stuff too. So when I saw her get like that and the excitement that brought her, and now she wants to go travel with us to the other side of my family's from Colombia. She never wanted to go. Now she wants to go. 85 years old. So I don't care what anyone says. If you really want to, you'll find a way to do it. You might know somebody somewhere and be like, yo, can I come stay with you? Like, I'm going to pay for my this and this and this, maybe you get yourself an Airbnb somewhere with a couple of people and you have a kitchen so you don't have to spend all your money elsewhere. You just use that money to put towards adventures or whatever it might be. There's always ways to do it. And I've never once held back from that. Any experience I ever did was full freaking worth it, no matter what it was, So, and even little things like they have in Santa Barbara, you can go camping in Santa Barbara and you can go hiking with goats in the morning. The most random thing you could possibly do, but why not, right? That's still a form of travel. That's still a form of getting into your explorative mindset, into your play, that playfulness heart of you. You know what I mean? Your mind goes into another place. And so that needs to be fed. Like I feel like I'm such a person that has to talk about this, but that needs to be fed. So, yeah.
I mean, I'm glad you talked about it.
It's a big
Yeah.
deal. Like, I don't know. And I feel weird because I know sometimes people are like, oh, well, you don't understand my situation. And I'm like, I get it. We all have situations. We all have situations, And it's not to say you have to travel all over the world 24/7. But if there's a country you've been wanting to see and you've been talking about that for the past 10 years, your ass better fucking go buy yourself that plane ticket and get over there. Okay. Like,
Boy, yeah. Thank you for thank you for instilling that one now. Um, Jeez, there's so much to go off of just from our travel discussion. Like, I was just asking, I was just like, see there, like, this is what we were talking about. Like, I would just ask a question and then we would just kind of go off on like, oh, we did, you gotta, exploring the France or New Zealand or Australia even. So, and we were just going on of like, yo, if this is something that you've been discussing about that you've been wanting to do for like the past decade or so.
seriously, do it. I had a roommate when I first moved out here in LA, and he would always talk about he wanted to travel internationally by himself. But he was like, I don't know if I can do it by myself. And he always talked about wanting to get a tattoo, and he always talked about this, and I think it was about going skydiving or whatever. And I realized that like I would hear him out, and I would hear him out, I would hear him out, and then I realized, okay, one thing I know about him is that he's competitive. So I'm going to try something different. And this may not work for everybody. But I said to him, I was like, you know what? I don't think you're ever going to do it. I'm like, there's probably no point in you talking about it anymore. And I said, I bet you won't even do one of them in the next year, is what I said.
Oh,
And I took a different approach with him. And his ass got a tattoo, went skydiving, and booked his trip.
but the spite is kind of like, oh, she thinks I can't do it. Well, I'm about to prove her wrong right now. You know what I mean? Let's do it.
And it
Yeah.
wasn't about proving me wrong. I just wanted him to do it for him,
Yeah.
And it was awesome.
Well,
So
you just gave him the kick in the pants to just go out there and do the things that he said he was going to be doing and
But he always wanted to. He was like, "It'd be
wanted
so
to.
nice.
Yes,
I've always
it'd be so
wanted to do
nice, but
this thing."
then, hey, I don't think you can do it.
I know. I straight up. I was like, "I don't think you're gonna do it. I bet you won't even do it this year. I won't. Not even one of them." Like,
Oh my God. Savage.
but it worked with him because
It
that's what
did.
he
Yeah.
needed. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh boy. No, what was I gonna see? I just kind of went off. We were just kind of talking about like, oh, I don't think you could do it, and I was just saying like that's something that just applies to life in general, where it's like, hey, there's this one thing I'm gonna do it. Are you sure? And then that voice in the back of your head, I could just kind of hear that one John Cena meme where it's like, are you sure about that? Yeah, it really do be like that, man. It really do be.
Yep.
Yeah. But speaking of like doing because I know, you have, voiceover and you got all this other stuff, but I don't think a lot of this would be possible without your wonderful agents and,
Mhm.
everything that you got. Because like I know they say, oh, demo website, but yeah, it's the agents. Because for you, like you still gotta do the hustling and bustling in order to sustain to be active, still being active in the industry. Like you've still got to stay on top of your craft. But, working with an agent, it can be. I mean, I will say that there's a lot of actors who have been done a lot of this. I mean, they book AAA video games even without an agent. Like
Mhm.
that's, I mean, it's no secret. But I know with your agents in particular, like I'm just kind of curious of hearing from your perspective, like how are they also instrumental in helping you in your career, like personally?
And all of that. Yeah.
Okay.
So interestingly enough, I started my career without agents too. So I
Yep. Yep.
booked Resident Evil 2 without agents. So I also booked a AAA game on my own. However, I will say that I did that because I was working production before 2. So my transition went from production into acting. And so that's kind of where I built my relationships and all of that stuff. However, I will say I love my agents and they weren't the easiest to get with, though I will tell you that they were
Mhm.
difficult to become a part of, that for them to take me on. And I remember being in like kind of like an in-between state where they were just trying me out because I said, hey, could you just help me with this one project? I need to go to Japan for a Netflix series. And I was like, can you guys just manage this? I just don't want to manage all of that by myself because it's a lot bigger now. It's like travel involved and all this stuff. And so I just asked through another director friend of mine who knew somebody over there, can you guys just manage this for me? And then they're like, yeah, okay. And maybe we'll test you out in the meantime. And I remember in that testing out phase, um, I booked a national commercial. I booked, mocap, or I think it was PCAP on Star Wars, one of the Star Wars games. I booked like all this stuff in my trial period. And like, I remember talking, it was like, hey, so are you guys gonna like sign me or like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, it's a trial period.
It was so funny. And they were like, one of the agents, like, whom I love her now, she like was like, well, you didn't really work directly with me, so I need to check in with the other people. And I was like, oh yeah. I was like, well, I booked a national commercial with her. I booked this with her, this with her, this with her. And she was like, oh, you know what? On second thoughts, why don't you just come in and we'll sign you? Like,
I love it so much.
And it was such a funny moment, but I'm so glad that it happened that way because I honestly, they kick ass. They're a great agency. Like I really love my agents. They hustle though. They're hustlers. Like they're not just
Mhm.
like, oh, we're just this agency. Like no, like they are sending you work and work and work and work. You need to be at that level too.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so it can be a lot. And I think sometimes people don't realize like how much work is involved in
Yeah.
this on this
Yeah.
end.
Hmm.
And but I'm so helpful, like it's so helpful with them. And before I had a PR agency, they would also manage some of my appearances, like if it was a podcast, things like that, they would like take on some of those, responding back. Like I actually had an interview with BBC World News, and they reached out to my agents. Yeah. And so I did that. They helped navigate all of that, all of the craziness going on now with like AI and the language and contracts. Like, oh my gosh, I can tell you, it is so nerve-wracking, and I am so annoying. Like, I am always like, what does this mean? What does this language mean? Do they have this? Were they willing to sign this? Like, and my agents have my back. They have my back, and they will talk me through it. If something makes me feel uncomfortable, they talk with me, we figure it out. And so it is really nice to have someone in your court like that. And I do think that it brings on more opportunities. However, we'll see, it doesn't mean that you can't also voice act without an agent. I think you can also without. I think when you find a really good team, though, you kind of want to stick with them, and it's like there's a give and take, So, yeah. So I really like them. It's been a great experience. It's been really funny how it all came to be, but it's wonderful, and I think they're one of the best. So, yeah.
Dude, the story of like you were booking a lot of this work. I mean, like literally, you've booked like Volkswagen, like you've done
Oh
all
yeah,
these
my
other clients
Volkswagen national commercial. Yeah.
and
Did you see
wonderful
that?
company.
Did you see that? Were you able to find that commercial? Oh my gosh, it is
Dude,
hilarious.
I think I might have seen which one was
Okay,
it?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I was like, I didn't like openly go ahead and tell everybody that that was me because I thought people were gonna take it so bad. Okay, so it's this guy on a VR set. He's literally playing video games,
Yes, yes,
and
yes.
it's like me, my character, like I'm voicing over it. It's like about a breakup, how he like they broke up, and then he's just like in his own world and doesn't even see what's going on around him. And it's so funny because the internet can be so trolly, or like, oh my god, like they're talking so crappy about men in this, and like where they're trying to say video gamers are like just in their own world. And I was just like, gosh darn it, guys, it was supposed to be a funny commercial. Okay. Like, it's literally me of all people who is voicing this. Like, I like have more male friends than I can count. I have all brothers. Like, I play video games. I'm in video games. Like, calm down, everyone. Like, it's a
Bro.
great commercial though, and it was so fun because that was my first national commercial. So that was pretty epic.
Oh man, I just gotta bring that up because I think I sort of remember watching it once, and then I was like, "Oh yeah, we are chat. That's oh that's also gonna take the world by storm."
Yep.
But no, I was just mentioning that because like you booked these commercials, and then you booked like a AAA game, and then you were booking a lot of this stuff, and it's like, yeah, we're just gonna put you on a trial period, but then you just keep booking. I mean, I guess that's something that also happens, but I think it's what's getting to me is it's so funny how you're just booking a lot of these AAA video games, and then finally that's when they're like, I think we'll just sign you on. I just
Oh, I
think that
didn't
it's really,
they hadn't
yeah,
yeah, they hadn't talked with one another to realize that I was booking in all the
exactly.
areas. Because I have to book also on the because you have to be for my agency, you have to be able to be across the board, good with commercials, good with promo
Yeah, yeah,
narrative, with
yeah, yeah.
video game, with animation, with all of the things. And so
Boy.
and then on top of that, I speak Spanish, so I do a lot of Spanish stuff too. So they were like, I think when she realized it, she was like, "Oh shit, wait, no, you know what? Just come on in."
You know what? Yeah, no, we'll just take you on. But yeah,
My bad, my bad.
yeah,
So,
speaking languages and accents, that's kind of
mhm.
like a weakness of mine. So when it comes to speaking another language, like that's so I mean, like I mentioned, I'm never gonna say never. Like that's something that could be useful in your toolbox. So I know it's not impossible. I'm just gonna say, oh, I'm never gonna speak Spanish. You could just
Okay. Well, you don't
yeah,
have to necessarily for voiceover, like unless you're like a native speaker,
yeah,
probably it's going to be harder. But if there's like something with an accent, like maybe having like a good British accent is always good, or a mid-Atlantic accent is
yeah,
really good for games, And so maybe you have like a Southern accent, maybe you've got a New York accent, even things that are just regional to the United States make a difference to be able to have
Yeah.
an extra thing in your toolbox. And there's a bunch of dialect coaches out there that you can work
Oh
with
yeah.
to build those skills. So, but I feel yeah, I feel yeah. I've gone down my, since I am Latina, like gotten down my like Latin accent. I've got like a couple different versions now that I like play with, and I already have one character out there or two characters out there with different Latin accents out there, and I've got a few more that are coming this year. So we'll put it that way. I won't say anything else because I can't. So
Yeah. It sounds like it's a lot, but in a good way. So I'm just glad that you're still continuing to book and doing a lot of this because I know with agencies, you've mentioned that they hustle, and once you get signed with them, it's like I've heard somebody say that like, it's hard to get started out, but it's even harder staying on top of the game, pretty much. So, and
yeah.
everything you hit was it's just right on the nail. Like you just hit it right on the nail there. Um, and especially like because I know we've had, the strikes. I know people are kind of sick of hearing about it, but um, with joining the union though, like, what are some of the benefits or disadvantages, in your opinion, of being a part of SAG-AFTRA?
I mean that's a semi-political question these days.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that if you want to be a professional working actor, the union is the way to go, no matter what. I think that you can start a career non-union and you should build on that. And when you feel ready, go union. However, I will say that with all that is making sure that you have an understanding of how not to be taken advantage of, because especially in like where we are right now with all the AI stuff, you can be very much taken advantage of and abused so that you'll never work again. But the problem is that when you're used in that way, it also trickles into everybody else who's working, and then they can't work ever again too. So I would say that right now it's more crucial than ever to have some sort of protections there. Um, and so I do think that it makes a difference. I think it's not worth rushing into getting into the union if you're not ready yet, because you're going to have to compete at that level. So it's better to kind of start non-union, build yourself until you get into the union, and then you feel strong to really take on a career like that. But yeah, so it's a little bit. I mean, obviously the benefits are you're protected. You make sure that you make XYZ amount of money. You make sure that vocally you're not being abused. As far as AI goes, it's still all really tricky for me, so I'm not exactly sure, but I think we're more protected now too. So yeah, so it's a tricky situation. It's just kind of figuring that out. However, I will say union is the better route to go. So
Okay. Yeah. Um, so yeah, because I know that a lot of this stuff is like, really, is it the right time to join? When can we do it? And I mean, especially with last year's events, it's kind of like, oh, do I even want it? You know what? I'm just gonna say this. Join when it's absolutely necessary. Like, you don't need to have like, I mean, it's true with what they say, like when you're first starting out, like you don't need like a big fancy, $1,000 studio brick booth or what have you, but the main thing to focus on is strive to become a great actor, or just helping be involved with stories that can really resonate with people and making better. Be a person that is willing to collaborate, make a story even better, and add that little extra flavor in it that might have was not there before. This is where we come in. So I mean, I'm just saying. Um,
100%.
Totally. And I know you've talked about some of the hardships or some of the struggles of working as a full-time VO artist, but let me see. At the end of the day, even despite of all of the challenges and everything that you've talked about before, like it's just something that you really would not trade for anything else.
I mean, I never know what will happen in life. So I try not to make it something that I'm like, I'll die on the sword kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, I think what it comes down for me is I will never stop being a creative, ever. I don't
Bingo.
care how old I am. I will always be a storyteller, no matter what. Even if I tell you a story about what happened to me the day before, I will go into full details and I will be a whole thing, right? Because that's just innately in me. As far as playing goes, that'll never go away. I will always play. I will always be imaginative and create in all the different ways. So that'll never go away. Do I love what I do? I love what I do. I have so much fun with what I do. I hope that this stays around for the for the rest of time. But I don't know what's going to happen in our futures, and I don't know what's happening within our industries, and I don't know any of that stuff.
Yeah,
But I'm not going to stop. I'm just going to
that's
keep
fair.
doing and whatever feeds me, and this feeds me. And I didn't even and I stumbled upon this unintentionally, and I'm so glad that I did. I'm really glad that I did. And I'm so glad this is part of my journey as a person and this is a part of my life, uh, because it's something that I'll always be proud of and something that I'll always be really happy to share. So I can't speak forever, but I can speak for now. So,
For sure, for sure. You mentioned conventions and streaming and miscellaneous that you've mentioned before. So, as far as cons, and doing some other stuff that you mentioned before, like, is that also something that you love? Because I know it's a part of like, the VO hustle. I don't even want to use the term, but going to conventions and meeting the fans and meeting a new community of like gamers and artists and everything of the sort. Does it also help you grow as a creative, as an artist in life in general? Would you say that also adds to the growth, so to speak? I'm sorry, did that make
yeah,
sense?
yeah, it does actually. So, it's funny because what you are talking about is something that when I'm at a convention, people ask me like, "What do I if I want to be an actor? What should I do?" And I always say, "Live your life." And so, yes, conventions, me having an opportunity to travel, right? Because now I'm traveling to different places. I'm understanding the culture of those places. I'm understanding the food of that region. I'm understanding, you know, what people like to do in that area. I always ask questions. So, what do you like to do out here? What's a good place to check out? I get to know people while I'm there. And I also get to hear a lot of stories that sometimes people will share with me, like I've had people that have lost people and will come to me about this, you know what I mean, while they're there. Or I have some people that are like really going through a hard time, or someone going through like chemo and is like coming to see me, you know what I mean, like. And so all of that helps to understand people and create this sense of empathy and connection, with all of that. And that just helps me grow as a person, which ultimately helps me grow in my craft, because my job is to tell other people's stories and to empathize and try to recreate that, story, and to share that with others. So it always will, and I love it. I really do. I find a lot of joy out of it. So yeah. And if anyone ever comes to visit me at a convention, you'll know that I will take my time with you. I will get to know you. It's a whole experience. If you ever do my selfie experience, that's all I'm going to say. I won't tell you what it is. It's a whole thing. And people always leave going, oh my gosh, like I've never experienced anything like that before. And there's a reason why. It's because it's real, it's authentic, and I'm enjoying it just as much. So, yeah.
Yeah. And for motion capture, getting into combat and, doing all of this stuff is also something that you enjoy doing on top of VO. Like, is it something that you would like to do more in the future?
Fuck yes. Yes. I love this stuff. I know you can't see it back here, but I've got my extreme survival. I've got my book on like different types of weapons. I've got like
Wow.
I've
Very
always had
passionate.
this.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love this stuff. I used to do like basic stunts and stuff like that too. And so like I find a lot of joy in all of it. I like learning, and I like learning how to feel capable and efficient and like understand how to kind of stuff. So I feel like mocap, performance capture does a lot of that. And I get to play all kinds of characters, like, I've been like creatures and all kinds of things too when it comes to the mocap world outside of playing, lead characters and all that. And so it's a lot of fun. I'm telling you, it is full blown imagination world with your friends, because sometimes with VO, if you're only in the booth by yourself, but when you're doing performance capture, it's with all your friends in there too. So it's
Yeah.
fun. And trying to make sure you don't hit each other's face cams is always fun. So like, yeah.
Oh man, that must be, boy, that must be painful. That sounds like it's painful. But
Yeah.
I do wanted to quickly just get to the self promo section. So share what you're working on, something that you wanted to talk about, any last bit of advice, social media blog, or just anything of the sort. What future, it's always uncertain, like you said, but you know what is something that you want to leave it, close us out on? And if you want to share your stuff.
Yeah.
Mission.
So I mean, I guess I'm shamelessly plugging now. So
Yes, yeah, we're
like
getting to this part. We're getting to
this
the
part,
end.
okay. Well, I'm Stephanie Panisello. I am the only one in the world that I kind of know of. And so if you just find me on Instagram and on TikTok, I've finally made it into the world of TikTok, which I'm still trying to understand. But on both of those, I'm Stephanie Panisello on there. I unfortunately got hacked on Twitter. It's so stupid. Can't get myself back on there for some reason. But I am Because I Claire on Twitch. And so that's a whole pun on Because I Care from Resident Evil 2, one of the lines that Claire Redfield says. I know. You can also find those on YouTube, because I'll usually post them back onto YouTube afterwards. Like probably like I feel like these days it's like a month later. I'm a little late on putting onto YouTube, but if you definitely follow on Twitch, you'll eventually see it on YouTube too. Um, and I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I also have a Cameo, so if anyone likes personalized videos and stuff like that too, I do those as well. And on Streamily, I do those a little more rare throughout the year, but I do have this print right here, which is the Shenyun Cloud Retainer print that I'll be doing on March 8th. So that's going to be happening on March 8th at, I think I did 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So there's pre-sales that are open and people can purchase and honestly get it signed live and then receive it all around the world, which is a really cool concept. I thought that, I think that's especially nice for people that like may not go to conventions or might be on the other side of the world. So and what else? And then I'm also going to be at Arizona at Game On Convention in March. I also have, oh my gosh, there's going to be a bunch of shows actually happening this year. I think I'm at like, so far counting like 8 shows at the moment. So all throughout the US right now, and then one potentially overseas. So if anybody wants to follow along, the best place to do it is on Instagram. I'll let you know whenever all of the shows are coming up, any signings are coming up, and all that. And other than that, I mean, it's been a really great conversation. I hope people have learned a little bit something, come on this journey with us, learning about behind the scenes of what it's like in the industry, understanding a little bit of what it's like to be a performer, and also getting deeper about life, So thank you for having me on, Robert.
Yep, and thank you for joining me. If you like to check this out in 2 parts or in full, however it's gonna be, it'll be up on YouTube and Spotify. I'll just provide updates on my social media later this week. But regardless, thank you so much for watching, and stick around next time on Station Square. This was so much fun. Oh my gosh, man, I'm so excited to put this up. But yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.
Bye. Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye.